IRS Form 9779, Electronic Federal Tax Payment System, Business Enrollment. So if you're a business owner, then the federal government expects you to pay your taxes electronically. Unlike individual taxpayers who can pay via check, money order, you can even bring cash to certain locations to exchange it for electronic payments. Business owners have to file or pay their tax bills electronically. And the Treasury Department has a program called Electronic Federal Tax Payment System, or EFTPS. And IRS Form 9779 is the enrollment form for business owners to get started with the EFTPS registration process. So we're going to go through this tax form. We're going to go over a couple of, frequently asked questions, as well as instructions on how to file the form itself. So it's a 2-page tax form. We'll go over each of these parts: business information, contact information, payment, and then the financial institution information, and we'll go over the authorization on the back of the form. So let's go ahead and start with item 1. So you'll put the employer identification number, or EIN, in the first field. And if you are a sole proprietor business and you do not have employees, then the IRS usually will consider you to be a disregarded entity. In other words, you're treated like an individual, so you would need to enroll in EFTPS as an individual. And people can do that by filing IRS Form 9783 instead of 9789. And we'll put links in the show notes to not only the article on IRS Form 9779, but also any forms that are mentioned in this video. So, sole proprietors. Now, if you're a sole proprietor and you have employees, then technically you're a business and you can continue using this form. So in item 2, you're going to put the business name. This should be exactly the way it appears on your income tax return. A sole proprietor that normally would be filing Schedule C would use the owner's name instead of any aliases or what's known as a DBA name, a doing business as name. So in this field, the instructions state that the only valid characters are any alphanumeric characters, such as letters and numbers, the dash, the ampersand, or the and symbol, and then any blanks. So you can, for example, Doe Enterprises would be correct, but you can't put Doe Enterprises LLC. So in item 3, we're going to put down the mailing address. I would be careful here. If you've recently moved, just make sure that your mailing address matches the mailing address that you have listed in the IRS records. We're going to go on to the contact information. So in this case, John Doe is a single or sole proprietor. He has employees, but he's chosen to keep himself as the primary contact. In line 5, if there's a primary contact mailing address that's different from the item 3 up here, the mailing address here, you would enter that. So in this case, we'll just assume that they're the same address, so we don't need to enter any additional information. Notice that there's fields here for international information. So if you're filing on behalf of a business that it happens to be outside the United States, then you would take the city, you could enter that, you would leave these blank, and you would put the province, the country, and then the foreign postal code in the international line. For item 6, we're going to enter the contact phone number. You can either use a U.S. phone number or an international phone number, but not both. Now, for payment methods, there's not a whole lot of information here. You can select one of two options. Either you authorize the transactions yourself, which is free of charge, and most businesses and individuals will use this, most small businesses. Or you can have your financial institution initiate your transaction, but you would have to check with your financial institution to see if this is available and to see what fees you may incur if fees apply. So there is a note up here. If you wish to use multiple accounts in one financial institution or accounts across different financial institutions, then you would need to complete a separate enrollment form for each account, regardless of whether or not they're the same financial institution or not. There isn't an item 8, but since we skipped to item 9 and there is a field here, I'm going to assume at some point this might have been item 8. There are no instructions for an item 8, but in any case, you're simply going to repeat the employer ID number from line 1. So make sure that it matches. And in lines 9 through 11, you're going to enter the bank account information in question. So as I just mentioned, if you have separate numbers, separate account numbers, then you would need to submit a separate form 9779 for each account. So in this case, we put in Doe Enterprises routing transfer, transit number, the account number, and then we've determined that it's a checking account. So in line 12, you can enter the name of your authorized signature, authorized representative or authorized contact, and then you would sign and date it here. So there are 800 numbers for you to be able to call 24/7, except for hearing deaf or people with that are hard of hearing that need to call this 800 number. That's open from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Most deaf and hard of hearing people can also just use a relay service to call the regular 800 customer service number. So the one thing I wanted to kind of go into is some of these authorization agreements. It is worth kind of discussing. So there are 3 agreements. 1, a disclosure agreement. 2, a debit authorization agreement. And 3, the authority to execute an authorization. So in the first one, specifically, the signatory is authorizing the contact person to give information or receive confidential information to be able to pay taxes, answer questions, resolve issues as far as EFTPS is concerned. This can be passwords, payment instructions, name and identifying number, and then payment transaction details. So until rescinded in writing, this authorization stays in place for the entire time that this authorization is active. The next one is a debit authorization agreement, which means that the signatory is authorizing the U.S. Treasury or financial agents of the Treasury to initiate these debit entries to pay federal taxes. They further authorize the financial institution that's named up here in this information to debit those entries to the financial institution account. Basically, I'm authorizing the Treasury Department to go ahead and pull money out of this account, and I'm authorizing my bank or financial institution to give them that money. And then all of the debits that were initiated by the Treasury are basically done under U.S. Treasury regulations, and this will also remain in full force until rescinded in writing. The third one is simply saying that the signatory has authority to have payments made from the business account, either through IRS Form 2848 or through IRS Form 8655, which is the reporting agent authorization for magnetic tape or electronic filers. So we probably don't use magnetic tapes nearly as much as we used to, but the electronic filers, it's all the same authorization. So once you sign on this, you're committing to those 3 agreements. And again, there are 800 numbers on this form. If you have any questions, those go to the EFTPS team to resolve, not necessarily to the IRS or any revenue agent working with the IRS. So, your enrollment in EFTPS is administered by the Treasury Department, but not necessarily the same people that you would be interacting with when you're asking tax questions. So you complete this form, and then you would mail it. I don't see any fax options or email options. That's a popular question, but you would mail the completed form to the EFTPS Enrollment Processing Center, P.O. Box 173788, Denver, Colorado, 80217-3788. You can also enroll in EFTPS.gov online. You can do this 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So in a nutshell, that's how you would complete IRS Form 9779. As I previously mentioned, we'll put links in the show notes to not only the article here, but also the articles and videos that we've created about some of the other tax forms mentioned. So if you like our articles, please subscribe to our newsletter. If you like our YouTube videos, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. And as always, if you have any questions or comments, or if there's another topic that you'd like to see discussed in an upcoming video, then please hit me up in the comment section. Thank you very much and have a great day.